What's happening, gamers? It's KMEGA 405 live from the 405, where I'm just your regular gamer talking to the intelligent gamers. If you guys would be so kind to hit that sub button, it'd be greatly appreciated. Go ahead and share it out too. Definitely like to hear people's thoughts on whatever topic that I talk about. Hear what they got to say, man. It's always, or see what they have to say. It's always encouraging, even from the haters. But regardless, we're going to move on. I do want to give a couple of shout outs to a couple of people before I get to this video. Also, big shout out to Intro Media Gaming. Go check them out at intromediagaming.com. Grown Women Gaming. Go check those ladies out on Lady Infamous channel. 12 Central my time every Saturday. And also big shout out to my boy Xbot448. Go check out the next podcast every Saturday. It's 6 o'clock Central my time. And then of course BGST, check that out on Zaire's channel, usually on Sundays or Mondays, and it usually runs anytime, but you already know about that. But anyway, let's get on to this video. And first off, wanted to go back in time a little bit. A little bit over a year ago. And once Fonzarelli used to be on GRG, there was a big discussion that was going on in regards to the loot crate boxes. And Fonzarelli don't like DLC. He doesn't like anything that you have to pay for extra for games. He's just one of those people that's like, look, give me the experience and we good. And I don't disagree with that. I just felt that, like, for the loot crate situation, that it was kind of like, well, if people are grown and if kids is not exploited to this, then they have every right to spend the money how they want to. Not saying that loot crates was right, but I'm just saying that you let a grown individual do whatever they want to in those regards. Don't just hamper it into the sense of where they don't have access. Because I mean, I think even with loot crates and things like that, people should have the say-so to say, no, I don't want this, or, you know what, hey, it's your money, you do what you want to do with it. But it goes a little bit further than that, because months later, you started to hear rumblings about single-player experiences and how they were beginning to diminish because of what some of these big companies is doing. And then also Phil Spencer brought up something about the decline of single-player experiences, and it caused an uproar definitely from a lot of Sony fans, which naturally so, because Sony has been on the forefront, and Nintendo, of bringing single-player experiences, while Microsoft has been really strong and always been strong with doing multiplayer and only bringing so many single-player experiences without any multiplayer games, right, or aspects to it. But now we over here hearing more and more about how single-player is in trouble, and it came from somebody that you might think that's unlikely that it was going to come from, and it came from Amy Hennig. And you know, if you don't know, if haven't heard of her before, she was a Naughty Dog writer for Uncharted, and then she moved to EA and supposed to be working on some Star Wars games, but that fell through, and so now she's left and she's starting her own studio. And she goes in there and she's having an interview with Jeff Keighley, and it's her and Mark Cerny. And some of the things that she was saying was quite interesting. It was something that I was bringing up a long time ago, at that time when me and Fonzarelli was having that discussion, in regards to how expensive single player games have become, and they're only going to become more expensive. So what does that really mean for the future of single player games? Well, Amy Hennig, the writer for Uncharted, she worked for Naughty Dog, then she went to EA, started to work on a Star Wars game, it fell through, and now she's starting her own studio, had quite a few things to say about this, and it was really interesting. I'm just going to read a couple of things that she said, because it was really interesting. And she was saying, hey, look, we've been talking about this for a long time, and how do we keep on making games like this when they're getting prohibitively expensive? We don't want to break the single player experience, but there's pressure to provide more and more at the same price point games have always been. That isn't substantial, I believe. I think it breaks the purpose of a single player game. I was saying to some people here, I play games because I want to finish them. I want to see the story. I like the arc of the story. I don't see the end of most games. How crazy is that? We say it's about narrative, but we make games where fractions of the audience don't even see the end of these games. It's very heartbreaking. And she goes on into a bunch of little things. It was pretty long and substantial of how her frustrations is on not only for the price point of what single player games is, but the fact that some of these people, they may play these single player games, but a lot of people don't beat them, and which means that these games doesn't get the full worth that they deserve, which it's sad, because when you last checked, I think with God of War, I think because I beat God of War last week sometime, and it was like around 52 to 55%, and that's a huge number. But you would think for a single player experience, you would think that if you're going to go through that game that you want to beat it, right? But just a lot of people don't have enough time. A lot of people just get to a certain point. They got other things to do. There's other games that's involved. And multiplayer games play a big part in that, to where they kind of take away that friend. So like, for instance, you could be playing God of War and then some friends make you want to play PUBG, or they want you to play the game that everybody loves right now, and that is Fortnite, or any type of multiplayer. The fact is, the new standard is multiplayer gaming. Single player games, they're still relevant, but the overall consensus is that we all know that multiplayer is the ruler of gaming right now. And there's gamers that play both, but it's just like in the beginning of the generation when people thought that it was funny when you seen Yoshida and Boys and give those games, those hard copies. That's diminishing. Digital sales is going up, hard copies is going down, and eventually hard copies is going to be kind of like the record. You're just going to have to go to certain places or order them somewhere at probably some crazy high ass price. So what is the solution to this problem? Well, basically it's subscription models. And this is something that Amy Hennig said herself. She said, I hope that we see more shakeup in the industry. We're opening up our portfolios, maybe with a subscription model. So we can see that there can be story games that are 4 hours long at an appropriate price point. We can have digital distribution. So which means that they want to kind of do the same thing of like with Hellblade, which was a smart move. Maybe have smaller teams of devs going to work on games that look and play fantastic, but is at an affordable price, and you don't have this crazy insane amount of hours that you can put into the game, because a lot of people, let's just face it, don't have the attention span like they used to. I mean, I can remember when I was playing games and putting in hours of hundreds and hundreds of hours. It has to be a game that I totally enjoy for me to put in tons of hours. For games now, it's kind of like, I'll get back to it later because I'm playing on something else. So it is the way of the future. So now we already know what Xbox's plan is. They have a blueprint. It's already set. We see what Game Pass is, and it can be very substantial for single-based games. If they can make third-party deals to where they could have those single-player games be offered on Game Pass, it's a win. But what is Sony going to do? We know that Sony has to go this route, but what is their blueprint? What is their plan? We know that Sony has to go with this service-based subscription service just like everybody else. They just got to fall in line because it's the future. And if Sony says that they're behind the single player, then they have to be for it for everything, not just first party. And if they do it just for first party, then that means they'll alienate the rest of the people that want to be a part of having their single player games to be shown. So it has to be a service that they have to have, plus the fact that with the service base for both Xbox and PlayStation, and I feel for Nintendo as well, is that you get more people to be involved. That's why this whole new terminology, user base, has been popping up, because that's where the real money is. And I feel for here in the future, more games will be like Hitman. You heard about the rumors about Final Fantasy VII Remake, supposed to be kind of like this episodic type of thing, which I don't think any traditional Final Fantasy fan really wants that. They want to kind of grind through But if it gives you plenty of time to be invested into the game, then I guess it's not a problem. But again, you have other people that may just be interested into the game, but don't want to spend 200 hours of playing it, and maybe just would be more content with playing anywhere from 10 to 20, and then that's it. So it's very interesting in seeing where the future is going to happen. Because like I said, it wasn't no knock on Sony. This was just a fact of, like, it's just with the turnover with Xbox and how Xbox had a lot of blunders in this generation because of the turnover of people that left, the people that's been repositioned. The same thing is going to happen with Sony. You don't have people that like Andrew House and all the rest of the people that have been there, that's been the cornerstone of Sony's success and failures, to just replace them with somebody else and just think it's going to be the same thing. It's going to be a smooth ride. It's not. But regardless, it's going to be very interesting to see what the big three is going to do with these service-based subscription models, and what will happen with the single-player experience. Because, look, one of the biggest problems with Quantum Break, I've always said this, was that the lack of advertisement, and the second one, which was the main purpose, was that it didn't have any DLC. If it had two forms of DLC, it would have revitalized that game, and I feel that a lot of single player games need that, and Sony hasn't really gone that route and done it. I've seen it with Horizon Zero Dawn, which was really smart for them, but you would think that God of War could have something down the line. Spider-Man should definitely have something to keep people excited until they have their next exclusive come. I just feel that that's another part. But if there's people that was, like I said in the beginning of the video, like Fonzarelli, that don't like DLC or anything like that, then the only solution would be the service-based. And gamers can run across gems. Just think of it, like if you were getting Game Pass to play Forza Horizon 4 and then you ran into a single player experience that you may not have paid $60 for, but you played it and loved it, then you bought it at a discount, it'd be great. It's the same thing with PlayStation. If Nintendo decided to want to go that route, it makes too much sense. And by the sounds of what Amy Hennig was referring to, is that there's a lot of developers and writers that want to probably go this route because it gives them a safe haven, instead of kind of talk to a big publisher that really don't want to spend that type of money if they don't feel like they're going to recoup some kind of benefit from it. So anyway, I'd like to hear your thoughts about everything. Sorry that the video went kind of long, but want to hear your thoughts. Peace.
Riding with the boys and girls and we're high. All we want to do is have a good time. Young, wild and reckless is how we live life.